Welcome to Maths Lecture number 2, Topic 1, Element of Cost. I'm Miss Fatima, your cost accounting teacher. So let's proceed to the learning objectives. In today's class, we will learn the classification of costs. We will learn about the preparation of cost statement, report, and profit or loss report. Here, we can classify costs by several ways. First, we can classify costs by nature. This is where we will divide costs into direct and indirect, and we classify them based on material, labor, and expenses. Classification of costs by behavior. Number 1, fixed cost. Fixed cost is an expenses or cost that does not change with the increase or decrease in the number of goods or services produced or sold. For example, if your company pay for rental of factory, let's say your company pay $1,000 and your company produce 1 unit of output only. So still, how much of rental you have to pay? $1,000. If you produce, let's say, 1,000 units of output, anyway, your rental cost still same. You still have to pay $1,000. Second, variable cost. Variable cost is a cost that varies in relation to either production volume or services provided. So, if there is no productions, means no variable costs will be incurred. For example, you're producing 1 pieces of roti canai. The ingredient to make a 1 pieces of roti canai is about, let's say, 20 cents. Now, when you are producing 2 roti canai, 2 pieces, you will incur 40 cents. If the company producing 100 pieces, guess, can you calculate how much is the total variable cost incurred? Yes, it should be $20. Next type of cost by behavior is step cost. Let's see what is step cost. Step cost is a cost which constant until certain point of output level, then the cost increase or decrease and become constant again. Let's say you rent a special machine where it can only produce maximum of 1,000 units. So when you rent it, you pay a rental at $100. But when you need to produce 1,001 units of output, you need to rent the second machine. So by that time, you incur another $100 for the second machine's rental. This is the example of step cost. The last type of cost is mixed cost. Mixed cost consists of fixed and variable elements. The general example of mixed cost is the production overhead itself. Production overhead in general consists of the mixture of variable and fixed elements. Let's look how each of these costs will look like in graph. Look at the first graph under A. Let's say you are producing at 1,000 units and 2,000 units. The rental cost maintained at $1,000. So this graph shows that despite of any level, any activity level of output being produced, the fixed costs remain the same or constant. However, if we are to divide or distribute the fixed costs to how many units, the cost per unit graph will look like this. At the production level of 100, the fixed cost is still very high. However, once the company produces 10,000 units, for example, the fixed cost, which is very high, just now been shared to more units. So, cost per unit will be low. So, this is how it will look like. The fixed cost will be shared better with a higher volume of output. So let me bring you to the illustration here. Let's say rental is $1,000 and you produce one unit. So the whole $1,000 need to be absorbed by only one unit. So the cost will be very, very high for each unit, for the one unit. Let's say the company produced 1,000 units. Then the rental of $1,000 will be shared to the 1,000 units. So each unit will only absorb $1 of rental cost. From here we understand, in order to have a less fixed cost per unit, we need to produce more. Next graph is the variable cost graph. At this variable cost graph, we can see at each level, let's say 100 units of output, you will incur £1,000 of variable costs. At 300 units of output, you will incur £3,000 of variable costs. At 200, £2,000. So it doubled and tripled. And it will follow the units of output directly. However, if we are to project or reflect the variable cost per unit, it will look like this, constant. The reason why it looks like this, the cost per unit of the variable cost is constant because, for example, we take £1,000, we divide by 100 units, we will get £10 per unit. And when we take £3,000, we divide by 300 units, we still get £10 per unit. So we can say that the variable cost per unit is £10. This is the variable cost. Next part is the step cost. You can see here, let's say you're producing at 1,000 units and you are incurring rental cost of £1,000. So when you start producing 1,001 unit to hire a new machine or rent a new machine, so you have to incur another £1,000. This is where it goes up. And From 1001 to 2000, it will constant again. Next part is a mixed cost. As you can see here, the mixture of fixed and variable cost graph will look like this. At the 0 units produced, the company still incur $1,000 as a fixed cost. So any elements which increasing with the increase of the output, which is machine hour in this case, is called as variable cost. Fixed cost and variable cost in a mixed cost will be distinguished or will be separated using high-low method. This method we're going to learn in topic number 9, last topic of this subject. Mixed cost also can be expressed in the cost equation, which is y equal to mx plus c. Seem familiar, right? Yes, it's a linear equation where you have learned during your secondary school. So what does it mean by y, m, x, and c? Y implies total cost. So in order to calculate total cost, you must calculate variable cost times units, x is units, plus the fixed cost. So this is the equation of a mixed cost. The last part of the chapter is preparation of cost statement and profit or loss. However, in this math lecture, we will refresh back the key formula which you will apply later in preparation of cost statement and profit or loss. Why we have to learn cost statement report? It is the reporting needed to reflect the cost for a project or product. So let's say you are working in a company and your team propose a new project or product. Definitely, you have to present what kind of cost that may incur or involve in making or developing the product or making the project successful. Let's have a bit of recap on a key formula of calculating production costs. Production costs includes direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses. All of these direct costs, we call it prime cost. And we plus production overhead. Overhead here refers to indirect costs where the nickname is overhead. So in summary, dm plus dl plus de equal to prime cost. What is conversion cost? Conversion cost is a cost needed in order to convert raw material to become a finished goods. In order to convert raw material to become a finished goods, we need worker to work on the raw material and we need a support. For example, utility, power, rental, and etc., which is production overhead. So conversion cost is direct labor plus production overhead. So if we are to express it in this table form, product cost equal to dm plus dl plus de equal to prime cost plus production overhead become total product cost. Let's look at this question. Example. The costs incurred in manufacturing a product in the month of January are as follows. Raw material 150,000, direct labor 240,000, direct expenses 30,000, variable production overhead 62,000, fixed production overhead 35,500. So let's calculate prime cost. Remember, prime cost equal to DM plus DL plus DE, direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses. So 150 plus 240,000 plus 30,000. So you calculate how much. Conversion cost, on the other hand, direct labor plus production overhead. So direct labor 240,000 plus production overhead, we have two types, which is variable and fixed. So 62,000 plus 35.5 thousand. How much? Total product cost equal to prime cost plus production overhead. So prime cost we have calculated earlier, which is 420,000 plus 62,000 plus 35,500. So let's look at the answer. Prime cost, conversion cost, product cost. Anyone have a question? Feel free to text to me in MS Teams chat. This slide shows three types of overhead. Overhead means indirect. So we have learned under the indirect cost classification by nature, it can be divided into three: indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. And these three can be further differentiated based on function, based on the location. For example, if it is in factory, we call it production overhead. If it is in office, administrative overhead. And if it is related to the sales, distributions, marketing, it is classified under selling distribution overhead. Production costs by function. We can see there are two types, which is direct and indirect. Production cost, direct is the prime cost, indirect is the production overhead. Last activity for today. Enjoy this video. So this video is about IKEA producing its product Disney Travel Table. To answer this question, we have learned so far about branch of cost, cost classification by nature, cost classification by function, cost classification by behavior. We have learned about the formula in order to calculate the production cost, product cost, conversion cost, what is prime cost, what is overhead. Okay. Number 2, tutorial. If you realize your individual assignment, you can now do tutorial or task number 1.1 until 1.7. Until 1.7 can be done now, and be ready for quiz number 1. Don't worry, you have one more class under this topic, which is under tutorial class. During the tutorial class, we will learn how to prepare our cost statement, and we're gonna prepare it during the tutorial class. So as the end, preparation of cost statement will be covered in tutorial. So I hope this presentation has shown you what's covered in this topic. Please do all the exercises and tutorial. You won't regret it, and thank you so much for your time.